Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to plug in, turn up, and explore one of the greatest happy accidents in all of music. We're talking about that awesome, fuzzy, super crunchy sound that basically defines rock and roll. A sound that, believe it or not, started out as a complete and total mistake. All right, let's get into it. You ever listen to a killer rock song and just wonder, why do the guitars sound so aggressive? Not clean and pretty, but rough and fuzzy and just full of energy? Well, there's actually a really cool story behind that sound. And here's the wild part. Nobody ever meant to invent it. Nope. In the early days of music recording, engineers were trying to get the cleanest, most perfect sound possible. So that fuzzy sound we love, to them, that was a technical problem, a total failure. But, what was first seen as a huge flaw pretty quickly became an amazing feature. Musicians started to realize that this broken sound had this incredible raw energy, and they wanted more of it. So, one of the first really famous distorted songs happened almost by accident. The legend goes that for the song Rumble, guitarist Link Wray literally poked holes in his speaker with a pencil to get a rougher sound. And what he got was this raw, menacing tone that was so new, so rebellious, that some radio stations actually banned the song. That one broken sound really did change everything. So how does that even work? How does a perfectly clean guitar signal turn into that awesome, crunchy sound? Well, it's all about pushing the technology right to its absolute limit. Let's break down the science a little bit. Okay, so first, the real basics. Here's how an electric guitar makes any sound at all. A guitarist plucks the metal strings, making them vibrate. Underneath the strings, there are these magnetic pickups that turn that vibration into a very tiny electrical signal. That signal zips through the cable, hits an amplifier, and the amp cranks up the signal so the speaker can blast it out as the sound we hear. Pretty simple, right? Now, those early amplifiers used these things called vacuum tubes. You can kind of think of them like old-school light bulbs, and their job is to boost the guitar's signal. But when you push them really hard with a strong signal, they get hot and start to change the sound, adding this really warm, kind of growling character. A ton of pro guitarists still swear by this classic tube sound today. Here's a good way to think about it. Imagine yelling as loud as you can until your voice starts to get a little raspy and breaks up. That is almost exactly what's happening inside an amplifier. When the electrical signal from the guitar is just too strong, the amp can't reproduce it cleanly anymore, and it starts to distort. The technical word for this is clipping. See, a clean sound wave looks nice and smooth and rounded, but when the signal is too big for the amp to handle, it literally clips off the top and bottom of that wave, squashing it and flattening it out. That's the science behind how a smooth sound becomes that crunchy, distorted one. Now, obviously, musicians couldn't just go around poking holes in their speakers or turning their amps up so loud they'd get kicked out of every venue. They needed a way to control this amazing new sound, to turn it on and off whenever they wanted. And that's where the fuzz pedal comes in. This little metal box sits on the floor, and a guitarist can just stomp on it to get instant distortion. Inside, it uses little electronic parts called transistors to basically crush the signal on command. This is the iconic sound you hear on I Can't Get No Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones. Suddenly, any guitarist could get that sound anywhere. Now, you might hear a couple of different terms thrown around. Overdrive is usually a milder effect. It sounds like a tube amp just starting to work hard. You get some crunch, but you can still hear the individual notes clearly. Distortion, on the other hand, is the next level. It's way more intense and totally changes the guitar sound into something much, much heavier. But here's the thing. Distortion isn't just about sounding loud and aggressive. It actually gave guitarists a brand new superpower, one that would completely change the role of the guitar in music forever. And that superpower is called sustain. Just think about a regular acoustic guitar for a second. When you pluck a string, the sound dies out pretty fast, right? Well, distortion keeps the signal running at a really high level, which makes the note hang in the air for much, much longer. And this is a huge deal. That sustain is what makes those epic, soaring guitar solos possible. It lets a guitarist play these long, expressive melodies that sound almost like a human voice. It's what turned the guitar from just a background rhythm instrument into a true lead instrument that could take center stage. In fact, the amount of distortion a band uses can pretty much define its genre. Pop music might use just a tiny bit for some edge. Rock music, well, it's a key ingredient there. But for heavy metal, a really high level of distortion isn't just an option, it's absolutely essential. I mean, Let that sink in. That one accidental, broken sound is so important that an entire style of music, popular all over the world, was built on top of it. The deep, heavy tones, the aggressive energy, it all comes from distortion. So, that brings us to today. Do musicians still need to haul around these giant, super heavy amps to get those classic sounds? Well, not so much anymore. Let's look at how distortion has evolved for the digital age. The journey has been pretty incredible, right? It went from a complete accident in the 50s to the first pedals in the 60s, then came these super powerful high-gain amps in the 70s and 80s, and now we have powerful software that can do it all. It's amazing. Today, you don't need tons of expensive, heavy gear. Musicians can literally just plug their guitar into a laptop and use software that perfectly recreates the sound of just about any classic amp or pedal in history. It's made creating professional-sounding music accessible to pretty much everyone. Okay, and one last really, really important thing. Playing with distortion usually means playing loud. You only get one pair of ears, so you absolutely have to protect them. If your ears are ringing after you play, that is a big warning sign that it was too loud. Practice at a smart volume, and just know that even the biggest rock stars in the world wear earplugs when they perform. So when you look back, the story of distortion is really a story about creativity. It's about people taking something that was considered a mistake, a technical problem, and turning it into this incredibly powerful tool for art and expression. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? As technology keeps evolving, what's the next happy accident or weird technical glitch that a new generation of musicians is going to discover and turn into art? What's going to be the next sound that changes everything?